Hey there, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Nicole, and we're living in our now.
We're so glad that you're joining us today, where we're going to share with you another RV living tips and trick video.
Today we'll be going over the bare necessities to get you out there on your first shakedown trip. So you've got your RV, or you're thinking about getting your RV, and you're doing some research, wondering what the heck do I need to get out there and start camping?
And when we were doing research, before we got Annie, our travel trailer, the list just seemed exhaustive, and it was just kind of like, all right, do we buy everything that's on Amazon?
We didn't want to spend $2,000 just getting ready to go camping for our few weekends.
So with this video, we wanted to present to you a hopefully concise grouping of items that we feel are the bare necessity essentials for you to make sure that you have before you go out for your first camping trip, whether it be just an overnight shakedown, if you're going to go for a couple of nights. These items are going to ensure that you have what it takes to be able to successfully hook your camper up and get everything comfortable and hopefully working appropriately, and if it doesn't, your warranty should cover it. But enough talk already. We'll meet you outside and we'll get started. So when you get to your campsite, before you unhook your trailer, you want to make sure that your camper does not roll away. So you're going to want a good set of chocks. You can get really cheap plastic chocks, but we definitely recommend these solid rubber chocks. Everything we talk about will be linked down in the description below. So you have a set of these, and then once you disconnect from your trailer and you level it, you're going to want to level it left to right and front to back. And one of the things that's going to make that really helpful is to have leveling blocks. I've seen people use wooden blocks. You can use wood blocks if that's what you prefer. You can also use Anderson blocks, which are a little bit more expensive but not necessary, but you're definitely going to want some sort of blocks. We really like these Camco blocks, which are like adult Legos, but they lock onto each other and you can stack them if you need to level out, because they're each an inch, so you can stack those. And you can also use them to make sure that you can get your trailer tongue off of the hitch whenever you unhook. We'll also throw a couple of these underneath our stabilizer jacks whenever we put those down, because if you're in an area where it's been raining a lot, you don't want to sink into mud, you don't want to sink into hot asphalt. This really helps just to have a stable platform. So another accessory that you're going to make sure that you have is something that's going to allow you to hook up your electricity safely. So first off, a surge protector is highly recommended. Now for us, we're not full-timers, so we don't run a whole lot of high-tech electronics in our camper that I'd be worried about losing something should a power surge happen. But we've heard a lot of horror stories about campsites having some bad power surges. So we went and got a surge protector right off the bat. It's nice having that peace of mind. They have a large array of different surge protectors on the market. We went for one of the lower end ones because, like I said, we're not full-timers. I didn't want to spend couple $100 right off the bat, but this one's worked great for us and we'll link it. And the other thing you're going to want to do is get one of these dog bones. And what this does is this allows you to be able to hook a 50 amp cord like ours is into a 30 amp service like this is, because it would really suck if you get out to your first campsite and you have a 50 amp power cord but only 30 amp service and you're not able to hook up, and or if you have a 30 amp service and the place that you go to has a 50 amp post, they make a 30 to 50 if you have a 30 amp. So either way, having one dog bone to be able to go to the other size is the most common, highly recommended. But it's great because you just hook them together and plug it in. Even though this has a 50 amp plug for the marker, and this is 30 amp only, so that's what we're gonna do. You do that, you flip the switch, and your lights and your surge protector come on, and you know you're good to go. And of course, when you're camping, if you're using full hookups, you need to be able to run water to the RV. So in order to do that, you need to have a good hose that is designed for fresh water or potable water. A good freshwater hose. A pressure regulator. You can get cheaper ones. I like this one because it's adjustable. I've heard of parks having really high water pressure, and water inside your RV is a bad thing. So this is another peace of mind thing. And lastly is some sort of water filter. We don't have a full-blown filter system because we don't drink any of the water that comes out of the faucet, but at the same time we have no idea what's coming out of the faucet, and it's going to go into our food and we brush our teeth with it and stuff like that. So having at least a very basic one to capture any particles and stuff is super vital. I will make a comment about these 0G hoses. They're awesome. This is 50 foot long and it's great because it doesn't kink up to stop the water, and you can fold it up and move it around easily. So recommend getting something like this. You can go for one of the white stiffer hoses, but I much prefer these. And although it's a crappy subject, you will have to deal with sewage. Before you do anything at all with your sewage system, make sure you have gloves. Even if you're taking off the cap, it's crazy. You see people at campsites all the time hooking their stuff up barehanded. That's gross. It's terrible. COVID's going on. People are getting sick anyway as it is, but still, no icky stuff on the hands. So get yourself a good pair of gloves. Some people have just rubber gloves that are reusable rubber gloves, like the solid work gloves, but I kind of like these because they're disposable. I know they're not great for the environment, but you're going to want to invest also in one of these hose guides. A lot of campsites require them to be able to keep the hose off the ground, your sewage hose off the ground, and they slope down, which is nice because, well, stuff flows downhill. Everyone's favorite part, the sewer hose or stinky slinky. So this is a rhino hose, fairly common. We only got one length. We actually have two drain points because of a gray tank that we have up front for the kitchen sink. Eventually I'm getting an extension. I don't like the idea of having the Y connector and having two hoses running into one. Personal preference. If your hose does not come with it, I highly recommend buying the clear end caps elbows, so that way you can see when you're draining your tanks once you don't have any colored stuff coming out anymore. Makes it a lot easier. And if your RV comes with a black tank flush valve, you're going to want to get a separate hose that you can hook up to it. You do not want to use your normal drinking water hose. Just something about, I don't know, poop particles getting back into your drinking water, not a good idea. So this specific hose, it's gray. We can't mistake it for a regular drinking hose, but have this, that way when it comes time for you to leave, you can hook it up to your spigot, hook it up to your camper, and then turn it on and let it run so you can flush out the tank. And lastly, another thing you might want to invest in, this isn't necessarily like a necessity, but in a case like this where the hole for the drain to go in is pretty loose, it's kind of gross. You don't want that just open. And you can get these rubber donut seals that can go into the hole. And then this deal here, if you notice, it's got rings. Some places you can actually thread it in there. In this case, what we'll end up doing is just connecting the end to it and then sticking it in the gasket, and then at least that way if someone brushes against it in the middle of the night, it's not going to come flying open and stuff get everywhere. So there's that. As a bonus, when we're talking about the water and sewage, I'd invest in some good totes. We have this dark one for our dark matter hoses, so that way we don't mistake it for something that we drink with, and then our freshwater stuff is in a clear tote. Just makes it a lot easier. Another thing that I like with this is that we're going to be able to sanitize our stinky slinky in here, because it sits in here, and then we can fill it with warm water and bleach and let it soak for a while and be good to go. All right, and there you have it. There are our 5 different groupings of things that we feel are the absolute bare necessities to get you out there successfully. If you found the list helpful, why don't you go ahead and give that like button a smash, and also drop in the comments if you think that we either A, missed anything, or B,
have any other great suggestions for the bare essentials. We know there's a lot more items to purchase or could be purchased.
Right, and that's one thing to remember, is that every trip is going to be a new learning experience, a new learning opportunity. If you haven't already watched our video, we have a video where we present our 9
lessons learned.
Our 9 lessons learned from our first long trip. But every trip should be a learning experience. You should be able to get back and look back and be like, all right, this is what went well, this is what didn't go so well, and build on your setup routine, build up on all your RV accessories over time. For us, we think that if you start small and build up, but at least start with enough to get you going, then it's better than just getting everything, being overwhelmed, and then kind of looking back and being like, well, we spent all that money and we didn't even use half the stuff. But the most important thing is, if you're watching this video, you're making the decision, or you already have made the decision, or you're thinking about getting an RV, getting a travel trailer, getting a pop-up camper, whatever it is, getting out there and enjoying everything that nature has to offer.
Making memories.
Spending time together, and that's really what matters. Again, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. We hope that you found this video helpful. And if you're new here, make sure that you're subscribed so that way you don't miss any other upcoming tips and trick videos. And you can also follow along with us as we explore our backyard in Arizona, travel the country, and just spend time as a family making memories, because we only have one life to live, and that's why we are living in our now.
Thanks for following along. We'll see you next time.
Bye.